Oh, boy. Hey, it has been another... we're doing our tri-monthly podcast here.
Oh, Jiminy Christmas, ain't that the truth?
Hey, we've been doing a good job with other stuff, though, so high five.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's see. Today is February. We're at the end of the February
We're
month.
at the end of the February month.
And we are currently in Mississippi.
Jackson, Mississippi.
Mississippi. It took me a second because I was thinking about everywhere we have been. And I was like, where are we? We just came into town yesterday.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so we're in Jackson, Mississippi. And, so I don't know, we always do this where we just like, there's so much to tell, it's hard to like put it into a podcast. So I figured I have some notes. We're going to follow the notes a little bit as much as we can. And basically we're just going to quick fire where we've been since our last podcast. Obviously, if you're seeing this, you probably have seen some of our vlogs. We have a vlog. We post stuff on Instagram and Facebook all the time, and all the timing is all messed up, so everything is everywhere.
So confusing.
Here we are.
So if you're lost, so are we.
Yeah, we're lost in Jackson, Mississippi. Exactly. So, okay, so let's just do like a highlight and maybe a low light in each state.
Oh,
okay.
Well, highlight and high-low Buffalo. That's my highlight.
That's
for
right.
Texas.
So we did our last podcast in Arizona. So let's start with Arizona. What was your highlight and your low light in Arizona? And then I'll do mine as well. Just don't think too much. Just like say.
Black Mountain BMX.
That was your highlight. Cool.
Oh no! It was Hannah and Seth, like coming to my story time.
Oh yeah.
That made my day. That was absolute highlight.
Okay.
Far above everything.
What else?
Low light.
Low light. Sorry. Yeah.
Low light. Feeling a little bit just stressed. We were really stressed in Arizona.
We were really stressed. Yeah, and we had an Airbnb. We wanted to get a lot done. And we didn't get a lot done, and we kind of
really, did though.
But we were
like
trying
it
to
ended up being great,
yes.
But it was very stressful, especially those first 2 or 3 days.
It didn't go like how we wanted it to go.
Right.
Yep. Okay. So my highlight, let's see. My highlight was getting to play pickleball. My low light was the Airbnb pool. It was like cold. They said it had a heater, but then they charged us extra for a heater, so I paid the charge, and then the owner decided. Yeah. The owner decided that...
they pulled the rug out from under. That's what I just did.
The owner decided that it was too cold to use the heater. And I was like, that's the whole point of the heater.
Energy
anyway, whatever. So that was my life.
Don't promise a pool.
So then we got in our RV. We drove to Albuquerque. So high and low in Albuquerque. I'll go first this time. Well, I mean, I guess
No,
I don't
that's
want to steal yours.
No, do it.
Okay, highlight obviously was Santa Fe. Trip to Santa Fe.
Sure.
So we took a train ride to Santa Fe. Low light. No low. I can't think of one.
Oh, man. Yeah, no. So, Santa Fe was going to be my top. But my other top that's not that one is that fan's mom brought me jewelry, handmade jewelry.
That was pretty cool.
In Albuquerque. It's a very, beautiful New Mexican jewelry. Bracelet, earrings. They came to both the story time and the and the track operators. They're pretty much always my highlight. I just love all the track operators.
Love them.
They
get you. Oh yeah, that was great. Duke City.
Duke City.
That was fun.
For sure, dude. They were like our little. Yeah, I know. Absolutely. I don't really have a low light.
Yeah, me neither. Okay, then we went to Texas.
I love
we
that
had
you're checking off
3 different.
We talked about. That's great.
Yeah, I just feel good.
Did it.
So in Texas, we had we were 4 weeks in Texas. We were a whole month in Texas.
I was kind of.
Did you realize that?
Yes.
A whole month.
Yeah.
In Texas.
The beginning was not so much fun.
Yes. So we'll start with a low light and go to the highlight. Why don't you go first?
The low light was just not being able to get a hold of places to plan accordingly ahead.
Yeah.
And so I felt like all of our events were a flop. The playtime one was good. Oh, Cowtown BMX was awesome. But
once we got to Dallas.
Yeah, once we got to Dallas. But yeah, San Antonio... it just was rough. But Miles' birthday was fun. It was just rainy and hard.
So that was my low light. My low light was it was a crazy rainstorm.
Yes.
The whole first week that we got there, like flooding. The whole RV would shake, lightning and thunder, and it was just like it was just a downer. Like
when the weather is bad, it is really hard to push through unless you have an Airbnb.
Yeah, even then.
Yeah, even then. But no, I mean, in an Airbnb it's cozy because you're like, oh, I just get to like chill.
But when
here.
you're just
but when you're in an RV that's literally dripping, or you're stressed out about the RV outside, even in the Airbnb, you know.
Oh,
yeah, it's stressful.
Yeah, well, and you're in a new place. Like, we were in a new place, so it was like this weather. It's like, are we gonna get flooded out?
Frankie, that was a low light for sure. We lost Frankie for about 12 hours.
So, but then we did the Alamo for Miles' birthday. That was super fun. Mm-hmm. So that was definitely higher than San Antonio. And then we actually met up with our now traveling friends in Houston area.
Yes.
So that was definitely a highlight as well.
Sears.
Yep. So that was super fun. Our kids are really close with them. We're really close with the parents, and it's fun because we met them in Palm Springs. We're both from the Portland area originally. We know so many same people. So
they're like, we just feel like we're from the same culture, you know?
And we're kind of like doing the same path. So we were like, hey, we're going to be this area. Why don't you come to this park? So we ended up like having a whole week with them, which was super fun. Well,
we met up at one spot thinking it was just going to be 2 nights. And then we went to the new spot. And then we were like, call them, hey, can you guys come to the new spot? And they were like, oh, yeah. And they came to the new spot and stayed. So it was awesome.
The benefits of being full-time on the road. Yeah, flexible. Yeah. So that was nice. It ended up being, we weren't originally going to do a week off.
No.
Because we were going to try to do events in Houston, but we couldn't get any traction. And at that point, too, I'll let you talk about this more, but we were kind of like, oh, we didn't get any traction. Let's just like throw that stop in the garbage and just focus on the next one.
So that's what we did. We threw it in the garbage. And then when we left, a mom was like, reached out to me, hey, I thought you were going to stop in Houston. We've been waiting.
We let them down.
And I felt terrible because that's the hard part about what we're doing is like we have an audience on YouTube and you can see that through the numbers and the views and the durations, but it's not translating. So it's like I can't tell.
It's not translating to the engagement.
To the engagement, right. Like because you can't comment on YouTube and then people aren't reaching out on social media, and so some of them are keeping tabs on where we are, but they're not letting us know that they're keeping tabs. So when you decide, oh, nobody cares about this location, let's just drop it. It's like, oh crap, actually somebody did care, which is exactly what happened with today.
And unfortunately, Texas is our most viewed state.
Yeah.
Texas is our most viewed state. Houston probably is where it's all centralized. I haven't even looked at the state or the city breakdown. So in theory, our audio cut out, so I'm trying to like jump right back where we were. In theory, we should have the most fans here in Texas, but we have no way of engaging with them.
Right.
And so, anyway, long story short, now we have an opportunity to make the story shorter because that was too long. That's our way of knowing that the audio cuts out and like, I probably should have been shorter.
Yeah. Audio's like, I don't even want to listen to this.
Yeah. So anyway, it's hard to get a hold. It's not like we're gonna like talk to the kids and tell them to like go bug your parents or something. I don't know. We haven't talked about that today, but so anyway, that was Houston. We feel bad and we're learning.
Yeah, for sure. So.
But then we moved on to Dallas.
Yep. And
Dallas was kind of last minute planning. We got a library, the Cool Kids Library.
Reby Carey Library.
So that was fun because we had a fan.
We had two
fans. We knew 2 fans were going to be there, and then we didn't really expect anything other than that. And then it ended up being like a really cool event.
Yeah.
Like some other people showed up.
First of all, this library is dedicated just to children.
Yeah.
So it's a completely children's books in the whole library.
So we opened the door, and then all the people that didn't even know who Brecky Breck was, or they were like, "Oh, we'll come in too." So
it ended up being
awesome. It was awesome. The room was full, and it was fun. We had a great time. We did the giveaways, and like the mom.
The mom that won the giveaway got emotional. She was like, "I've never won anything my whole life." I was like, "I love this so much. You were exactly who should have won that. It was perfect."
So so Dallas ended up being super awesome.
And then Cowtown BMX.
Same thing.
Yes, that was so good.
Which again, that was the same thing. We were like, who knows, we'll show up. We kind of say that all the time too, just like, there's kind of like a pride element of like, no one may show up because it feels better if we say that if no one does. And then it ended up being a lot like people kept showing up, and that was different. There was no other event going on, so they had to drive out there. There was a detour even, so
which I was like, oh, no one's gonna come because they're gonna like see that the road's completely blocked. You had to go out, back, and around on the other side. It was a complete inconvenience.
But it was super fun. super awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Again, the giveaway,
that family that showed up that's been the huge fans and wanted me. Yeah, there was just so many different elements to that were really cool.
So it was awesome. So our Texas trip ended really well in Dallas. And that segues into our week off. We had planned a week off with our friends, the Garrisons, and like
we had known them from Vancouver.
It did not disappoint. It was like it was a great like
boy.
Anyway, we've known them from Vancouver, Portland area.
I haven't seen them in so long though.
Yep.
It's been like 3.5 years.
Our kids like kind of were like had to like
Ben
get
and
familiar
Miles
again.
really remember each other, but no one else really. So
yeah,
it was amazing.
So so that was good.
Yeah.
And then we went to Louisiana. Louisiana was awesome. What was your highlight and low light of Louisiana?
The host mom, obviously. The host mom was incredible. Yeah. So, shout out to Kylan. She was incredible. She coordinated everything for me, and that stop went really well because of how much she was able to coordinate. Yeah. And then the gifts and everything that she gave us and took us out to dinner and
there wasn't even a low light. That's what I'm saying. It's hard to do a low light or like we'll just do the highlights.
Yeah, seriously.
Unless there was something like
this is terrible. Yeah.
But so my highlight, I'll have a two-part here. One was just like I think this was the first time. When's the car alarm going off? This was the first time that we were.
We don't have a car. That was that joke. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. This was the first time that we were in a new like environment.
Yeah.
It was different, you know?
That I think we've been to every other state that we had been to.
This is the first
time
we were in,
and that was the first state
swampy,
that none of us had been in, and it was swampy.
South. And that's what Mississippi is that too.
Yeah.
It's just like we're driving into this, there's like there's just new plants and new stuff. You're like, I haven't seen that before.
I didn't even know that
like we've been to Hawaii, we've been to Florida, New York. We kind of like hit like the like the big times, but now it's like all right, I feel like this is the last like environment we haven't hit. So that was a highlight. And then baseball game was super fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
We got invited to go to the VIP box with some Brecky Breck fans.
Major highlight was crawfish farming though.
Yeah,
that was crazy. Fun. Like I'm out there on this boat,
too many
crawfish, and I'm like, what are we doing? Like this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, stuff like that. It's just not.
Yeah,
typical.
well, and
that all happened in a day. Crawfish farm and baseball. Yeah.
And what's cool about this is, like, in the past, we would get, like, a babysitter, and we would go just, like...
Yeah.
Like, do this, but with...
because they were babies,
Well,
and now we can just be like, hey, guys, be quiet.
Yeah, and we have to.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have a choice. Yeah. So it's like we took them to... we've taken them to... the museums, the crawfish farm.
Oh my gosh,
we're like doing different stuff.
It's great to film. They get to explore and play at the places that we're filming. So the museum,
we can trust them. I think there's like a two-way trust in that.
Well, and then of course Briar and Miles, they're like capturing like extra footage of us doing stuff because they've got the phone in case some which. Yeah. So it's funny.
Yeah.
Cool.
So now we're here in Mississippi. We have one more event tomorrow. I don't think we're gonna film anything.
No.
And then we're headed down to Florida. Gainesville. We have a month in Florida, so hopefully it doesn't rain like crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, should be fun. So that's ahead. What's going on with the channel? What's going on with the channel? Maybe you just talk from your perspective. What's going on with the channel, not my notes, and I'll.
I don't really know what's going on with the channel. We're trying to film and post and share stuff.
Figure out what.
What I'm realizing too is like. This tour is becoming a lot more like intrinsic and emotionally growing in myself than I thought it would be. Like I thought I would be like extrinsically focused on growing the channel and but I'm realizing like every stop and every person that we meet and encounter, I'm like thinking about my purpose in life a little bit deeper and like just going a little bit more like internally than I thought that I would. So
yeah.
In terms of what's happening with the channel, I honestly don't even know.
So are you saying like you're just now thinking like maybe deeper on like really what we're doing? And,
yeah,
like,
I think
the purpose of the
different... I think the things that are like kind of really hitting me hard are like every encounter seems very like divine. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, it's so unique to, like, these families that we're meeting, the conversations that we're having, the prayers that are being said over us at dinner tables, and at, there's just a lot of things that are kind of happening that I'm like, oh, and then the struggles that I've gone through, like, internally, emotionally, as a mom, and as, like, doing what I'm doing in a small space in RV, it's like all these things I'm actually having to, like, really, like, look at some things about myself that are really healthy and good, and I don't think I anticipated that.
Well, and I think what's happening too is, like, we've practiced flexibility so much, and then even with this tour, we kind of didn't have, like, there's not a lot of responsibility to the main thing.
Yeah.
And so that can be bad for a lot of things if we're trying to, like, drive towards specific goals or, like, keep momentum going towards specific things. But what we're realizing is, like, the more flexible and the more available we are, I think emotionally and socially, the more value I think we are able to both provide and receive in the interactions.
Absolutely.
And so it's like the more frustrated we get with, like, the planning portions or all this stuff, the more, like, value we actually are realizing is coming from the interactions. And it's almost like, I think you and I both, like, coming out of Texas and coming into Louisiana and kind of having that, like, bang bang, there was something about just, like, okay, like the wheels are moving, stuff's happening, we have, like, friends supporting us that just reaching out saying, hey, we want to bless you even financially.
Dude, yeah, that is crazy.
So let's see, the camera cut out this time. That was weird. It just, like, got a little thumbs up there. We're using our old camera.
Oh man.
Anyway, so as we're going,
the support and the friends supporting us.
And as we're going, it's just like, all right, we just are realizing we don't need to focus as much on, like, trying to make sure everything's perfect, but just being, like, present and available and, like, still doing stuff. It's not like we're not doing stuff, but I think it's just more of, like, just show up.
Be okay with it, yeah.
And, like, even today, we showed up to the park. And we pulled up to the park, and, like, I just started playing with our kids, and then other kids started showing up, and it was like, I felt like it was like, all right, these kids need, like, a dad to play with them at the park today.
You played hard, and you were sweaty.
I was sweating, and there was, like,
it was a beautiful thing.
It was fun. Kids came into it and left, and like, multiple moms came over and, like, thank you so much, that was awesome, and it was just, like, really cool to, I don't know, just, like, have that moment, and to, like, see that in our kids. They got to watch that. I think that's special.
When we were leaving, Maverick was like, that was hard. And I was like, oh, to share your dad? He was like, yeah. I was like, dude, I know that feeling.
Well, and I think that's important for them to see, too.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, it's not always about us.
Right.
And sometimes you can feel good about, like, being there for other people or, like, providing. And I think that's what was cool is, like, there's a point at where Miles was at the park, and we were playing, and one of the kids was kind of, he's being goofy and, like, a little bit, like, maybe immature, and Miles and I kind of looked at each other, and it was like, it's okay, like, we're just going to put up with this and, like, play with this kid still, because he just needs
for
this.
For a very long time.
Yeah, it was awesome. So, anyway.
No, I think that's something that's been huge on this whole adventure has been, like, because we're hosting these events and putting on these things, like, our kids are showing up fully for us, but also for all these people. And that's one major takeaway is, like, especially, like, after all the bike clinics, the parents are like, I did not expect this. Like, I didn't expect to be loved on by your children so much, let alone by, Brecky Breck and, the whole thing,
I would say almost every event where a parent does come up and says something about at one or multiple, like, one of our kids had a moment with their kid, and they're like, man, Miles was so great, and Briar was so great, or, Maverick or Greta, and it's, like, people are giving, like, our kids gifts, and, like, I don't know, it's just super cool, and it's funny because it's hard because it's, like, YouTube has such a, I think, a stain on its reputation now to be, like, this, like, business and money-making thing. Yeah. And so when we come into something leading as YouTubers, it's difficult sometimes for me to accept, like, that this is something that we're providing. Because it's like, I think about it from the lens of someone else, seeing it as, like, a business and you're just doing this to grow the channel or something. But what's cool is people are truly...
Once they get there, they realize what it is.
And they're receiving it and it helps me be able to receive like their interaction as well.
Yeah.
And so like I was joking around. It's like there's a there are correlations to this and like missionary work.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
And,
I was thinking about growing up in camp or like growing up in the church, and I remember cleaning all 17 bathrooms, and like just serving. But I remember like my mom introducing me or just being like, yeah, these are my kids, and she'd point to us 3 kids, and I could sense her pride in that, and I felt the pride in it too of like, we're serving together as a family, and this is what we do, And so I think that's something that our culture has not been good at, is like stepping outside of ourselves to like see how beneficial like servanthood truly is. Like our kids feel so energized, and so do we. Like our whole family, every time, which you talked about this the other day, every time we get in our RV after an event, that's like the best 10 minutes after the event. Everybody's so energized. They're just talking about all the incredible things that happened, all the kids that they this one kid, they'll just, everybody goes off, everyone's so energized, and it's like that feeling that you get after you give someone a gift, on Christmas, or like you feel good. Like it's more fun to go Christmas shopping for someone else than it is to receive a gift.
And you don't always feel that way going into it. I think that's the nice thing. That's true with their tour. Is like a lot of times it's not even just the kids. Like it's you or I sometimes.
We're like,
it's like, what are we doing? Why are we doing it this way? I'm guilty of that probably more than anybody.
So especially when you have a feeling of like no one potentially might show up to this,
or it's like, why are we doing it this way? Or I don't know. And I feel that with filming sometimes. But what's cool is again back to that flexibility. It's like, all right, when you remove all expectations. Mm-hmm. It's really easy to show up.
Step out.
Like just
see
be
above the
present.
Clouds.
And it's like, okay, there's one kid here. We're going to give this kid the
everything
experience,
that we,
right?
Yep.
Or even today. Today we showed up, and this was the first time it happened. Then no one showed up to our story time. And it was like a combination of we switched the city last minute. We didn't advertise. Mm-hmm. We didn't, and we kind of like, it's sandwiched in between 2 kind of bigger destinations, so we kind of didn't give this one enough credit. Or I guess enough.
I didn't find any sponsors for it, so we usually put ads behind it or like let people know.
Yeah.
But I didn't find sponsors for it.
All we did was throw it on our Facebook, so it's like, all right, if someone
you saw
from
it on your
Mississippi,
Facebook, you're lucky.
Yep. So anyway, no one showed up, but it was like we kind of knew that going into it, and then it ended up just being like kind of fun. We like hung out with our kids. We made stuff, and it was the first time I got to like make a craft because normally I'm trying to film or run around.
Sure. So we're all in there, and we had like a competition of like who could make the coolest thing, and it was just sweet because, like, we're in this room. We're like, we're going to stay here for the majority of the time.
In case someone shows
up. But we're just like, I read a book. You didn't hear this, but as we left the building, you're behind with the box. And Maverick goes, Mom, you didn't read the next 2 books. I was like, oh, you wanted me to read all 4 of them? He's like, yeah.
Well, we were all
and I was like,
you kind of like packed us up. And we were all like, we still had like 30 minutes of the story time.
Well, we left about 15 minutes early. So, but I was like, babe, like, and I took the time because everyone's making crafts and just having fun. I reorganized our story time bin and like went through everything.
Anyway, the point I was getting at was like, even in that situation where it can be super discouraging, like no one showed up or we failed because no one showed up or we didn't do our thing right or whatever.
Sure.
It was still, we were able to like, you know what? We're going to appreciate this for what it is.
Yeah.
We're going to take this break. Like, it was nice to show up. You got to reorganize. We got to spend time with our kids.
Yeah.
And it kind of was a nice, because I think we kind of all were like, okay, here we go. Another one. And then it was like, oh, okay. Like, it was a nice
we were a little bit almost relieved, kind of, because it was like, okay, this is cool to, like, just kind of breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the kids just had fun playing in the room with us.
Yeah.
Quietly.
And we got to, like, just waste hot glue and supplies. And it was okay. Like, I just kind of told them, I was like, I got a bunch of hot glue. Like, it's totally okay. We can get this at the Dollar Tree. You at one point were like, don't do out the buttons. The buttons are more expensive or something. But for the most part,
we've got beads and bells and stuff to go in the shakers and the buttons.
Yeah. So,
it was great though. Yeah, that was really special. And the crazy thing too, I'm just like, because I continually step back and I'm like, we're in Mississippi or like we're in Louisiana, you know, like these places that we've never been, and we're just like, so it's like, this is such a cool opportunity. So that feels really good.
Yeah.
But what was the next thing on the notes that we were going to talk about? What, the transition?
Oh, I was going to talk about like quick fire, like some stats real quick.
Oh, okay.
I can't.
That's what you're trying to pull up.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah. So some quick Brecky Breck stats. What the heck? You see this?
Settings? Yeah, I don't know.
Why is it not doing this? I'm trying to get to YouTube Studio the same way I do. There we go. See, it wasn't showing up. That's weird. Okay. So Brecky Breck. You know,
Holy
it's been a little bit. What?
That's a lot of channels that you have.
Oh, you've never seen that video?
No. That is nuts.
So it's been a little bit discouraging. Our last 2 months have actually been our lowest performing months in the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely interesting, especially with the timing of, like, we've started uploading a lot more. We are now, like, activating the channel a lot more. One thing we aren't doing
Look
is,
at that
like...
views. We got 259,000 views in last... Oh, almost 3. Yeah.
Yeah, so it is going up to the last day. But I guess what I wanted to point out was it's interesting because, like, it feels like there's that, like, candy that we're still not giving YouTube what it wants, you know? And now doing this tour, it almost feels like we're kind of fulfilling a purpose beyond simply just, like, putting videos out there, you know? And so I don't feel as enslaved by YouTube or the algorithm. Like, this is our like, it's not our only interaction, and it's enough to kind of open the doors. But even then, like, the mom we met at the park today, it's like, what we're already doing, we could have no channel and probably still do a good portion of like BMX clinics and and, you know, and story times for kids. It's like, even if we didn't have a channel, like, I feel like we could probably do a pretty good job with
absolutely,
that.
Yeah.
And so that's what's fun, is like, all right, you know, the channel is what it is. And so on that note, we are talking about, like, what's next for video content. And so we've been talking, and I think we've talked about it on the podcast, but we've been talking about doing it, like, a slightly older demographic channel called Adventures with Breck, and it's Breck in current state, or at least without the bow and glasses, just, like, touring places, and it'd be, you know, something that, like, a toddler could watch, but also a parent could tolerate and watch, or a teenager could watch.
Sure, like, I mean, with the crawfish farm, it's like you could go into a lot of depth there, but like, toddlers aren't going to be tracking with that.
And we end up cutting out a lot, I think, for toddlers in those situations, because it's like, oh, they're not going to care about this kind of stuff, but it's, like, cool stuff that it's like, I want to keep this in, and it's really interesting. There's questions that a toddler wouldn't ask, or even maybe comprehend.
Sure, yeah. I just have this balance of, like, I still think, you know, kids are smart, and kids pay attention to stuff, and they repeat things that they know and that they see or they've learned, and you know, repetition is a thing. So, you know, I've kind of not been a very good toddler. I think I used to be a lot better because my kids were toddlers when we started the channel. Like, I was much more toddler vibes, but now that they're older, I'm having a hard time kind of, like, getting, like, I know how to do it, I'm just, like, losing that a little bit, and so I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. Like, I want to do that really well and figure out how to be back down and just, like, do toddler. I haven't even done, like, an ABC episode or, like, these things. I think
that's what this, like, Adventures with Breck can be, is, like, if we do the Adventures with Breck, then when you go back to do a Brecky Breck video, right now you're kind of, like, spanning this big range, whereas if you have, like, an explicitly older audience video, then when you put the bow and glasses back on, you get to step into fully, like, toddler mode.
That's my biggest passion. So it's really hard for the idea. I'm wrestling with the idea of doing
Adventures with Kylan if you want.
Sure, I'll be the cameraman. Yeah.
It's kind of fun, and then you don't even need to change out of your stuff. You could literally just, you do a shot, I do a shot.
There is an energy level, you know, that I have that I want to maintain, you know, and I think you have that too, so it'd be easy, but I would have to try harder, and you have a lot of practice. I think the reason why Adventures with Breck makes sense is, like, we're already really good at doing it here, so it's just, like, you change the tone slightly, and it's exactly what we're already doing. Right. It's just literally taking off the bow, essentially. I mean, and I won't talk as high-pitched.
Whoa.
I'll still get...
You can go, whoa! You know, just
the great thing is, like, when you're learning about these things, it's like, a lot of people nowadays, they don't necessarily, like, when you see this giant, like, that giant tractor that we filmed with that Pape machinery, it's like an adult looks at that and they're like, in their mind, they're like, that is so cool. Like, wow. You know, this thing is a monster machine. It's got this triangle track that, but, as an adult, you're just like, oh, man, that's awesome. But, as Brecky Breck, I can just be like, wow, like fully immerse myself in the grandioseness of it. And that's what I'm saying is like, how do you do that and show people that it's okay to get incredibly excited about people and the things that they've built or done or you can do, you know?
And I think by doing, like, taking the bow and glasses off and being willing to let the audience of who you're talking to be a wider range of people, it almost allows us to not have to think about, like, being competitive with YouTube Kids algorithm.
Sure.
So there's not this like, oh, we've spent too long here, we need to move on. It's like, oh, it's not just about the toddlers. If the toddler gets bored and moves on because they're on YouTube Kids, then let them move on.
Right.
Like we're not trying to keep them from moving on.
Right.
And I think that's what I think about on the editing side is like, all right, if we're telling a mini documentary or we're producing a mini documentary about crawfish farming, I'm not trying to think about how to like maintain excitement for a toddler. I'm making the story for maybe I'm shifting the range a little bit, and then if a toddler wants to watch that or sit down and learn from it, they can. So I'm not saying they won't be able to do it or we're going to make it above their level. I think as much as maybe this is helping me start to see like how we can maybe provide more value for what we're producing without necessarily having to like bend the knee to kind of the game. And I guess that's the backside too, is like the reality of YouTube Kids. There's no advertisement opportunities.
Yeah.
There's no engagement opportunities. So when you go talk to sponsors to try to like get it sponsored, to not even have regular ads, but just have like a sponsored. There's no follow through. There's no stats that we can pull.
The problem too is a lot of the sponsors that we want, they're like, oh, well, we're steering away from kiddie, advertisement. We want older stuff, you know. It's like a lot of them are feeling that way. And I don't want to just do like Barbie and like all these kiddie things that,
surprise,
the typical.
Right.
It's like I'm not doing that. So if I can get a bike brand to get behind me, but the bike brand or, whatever it is, they're like, oh, we're trying to get more older people to buy our stuff, not just kids, and so, it's something that we're running into. So, yeah, that definitely would open up a lot of different opportunities and doors for us if we head that direction.
And I think it's just bigger support because people can see the vision beyond simply just a parent of a toddler. Right now, it's kind of like just parents of toddlers that see it, or people that have interacted with us like for a long period of time.
But I just struggle because I'm just like
you don't have to. You're I think you're defending to anyone that might watch this like that they may be perceiving that we're throwing away Brecky Breck.
Oh no! I think I'm just like there's just so much in my heart for children, like tiny children, that I'm just really wrestling with, like, how do I, like, pursue that passion, younger children, well? Yeah. That's what I'm struggling with.
Yeah. That's a good question.
Yeah. Okay. New sponsors.
Yeah, and we don't have to get through all our notes because we are behind. Like, if we get back into, like, podcasting every week, it'll feel more natural.
Yeah,
and like,
I think we
just have like such a random. Oh yeah, that happened. So
yeah.
We have a few new sponsors, which is super cool. Getting behind the tour, so these are brands that are excited about what we're doing. Scratch what we just said about that. Super cool. Obviously,
the first one,
Lincoln Park BMX. Always been there for us. Our home track. All right, here's Breck's like monologue. You don't have to do this. You talk about like.
I know I'm not doing this to do this, but
I'm just saying, I feel like you always think about like.
No,
I'm not. Take a moment to look you in the eyes. Thank you, Lincoln Park BMX.
It's like here's the struggle that you have with this elongated goal or dream that anybody has is like. When people don't see the vision, it's kind of like they're just kind of watching from a distance. Yeah. It's like, you can think of creators or people that you respect and admire that you kind of just watch from a distance. You're not really engaging. You don't comment on their stuff. You don't interact with them. And so to have Lincoln Park BMX in particular, we were a part of that was our home track, that was our community. Like that was and they've got to like see who they're, so they've like physically send us out on the road, and then they financially send us out. And like that.
And anything, like contacts, supplies,
Yep.
like absolutely everything. Like
our utility trailer,
yeah,
the
our
beginning
BMX family from
gosh.
Lincoln Park has been like by far the biggest supporter.
It was,
of our,
and that's evidence of like the more you spend time with your community and they get to really see you, the more they will back you up, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah,
sure,
worth it, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So
yeah.
anyway, really cool.
Yeah, no, it's super cool. Same thing, I think, with Lenny's Bike Shop.
Yep.
Obviously, Lauren and family are super awesome. We've been around them in a similar capacity in the biking scene, so just building like a long-term relationship, I think is super cool. So to have them come on as like an official tour sponsor.
Yeah, and when you get these people that see your vision, see what you're doing, and they just like go and they just bless you with it. So it's just like, thank you. It's incredible.
And then new sponsor that we just brought on.
Yeah, newest one.
We've been in contact with them for a while.
2 years, just about.
What's cool about this sponsor is
Maybe not that long, but a year.
Our exact demographic of who we make our content for is their demographic, and it's a product that we believe in, and like it can with integrity stand up and say like, yeah, go buy this product. Like if you don't buy this product, like you're doing your kid a disservice.
Magnetiles,
yeah. So Magnetiles, like by far, like the right up there with Legos and Hot Wheels for our family, if not even more.
Oh yeah.
And they complement so well with those. I know they probably don't care to like have us say that.
Yeah, well, so yeah, it's funny because when I reached out to Magnetiles, because I was thinking that was way back in the time where I was like, we need to find like something that I stand behind, and I was like, my kids are literally playing with Magnetiles on our living room floor every day. So I reached out to Magnetiles, and they got back and sent us some stuff, and then we finally have been in enough contact where they sent us like financial support as well. So
yep. And
giveaway stuff as well. And we have a link, so if you do need to go buy Magnetiles, you go to Brecky Breck. We've got a link.
Yep.
And if you buy from that link, obviously it's an affiliate link, so we'll get a little bit of money from that.
And I think what's biggest, I think that's for us like the beginning of a relationship.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're trying to do on this tour is like, and even with some of the bike brands that we were in conversation with, is like, hey, we don't need like this big chunk up front. We don't need this stuff as much as maybe that's sometimes our ask. If there's interest in a relationship, like let's get creative, let's be flexible together. Like what are you guys working on that we can be a part of, and vice versa. I think that's something that I get excited about, especially with us being creative, having involvement in a lot of different things, especially with the biking world. There's definitely a lot of opportunity for us down the road to continue growing in relationships. That's what I'm excited about. Fly racing is another one of those ones that's like, all right, I think this is like the beginning of a relationship, and if we can continue just kind of honoring that relationship and growing with them as they grow, I think that's something I'm excited about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. What is next for the tour? We're going south.
We've got a bike clinic
Midwest
tomorrow, which is, I don't know if anyone's going to show up to that, because again, we didn't have any funding for letting people know. But then we're going to Gainesville, and that is going to be an awesome stop.
Yep.
Florida. We're going to Florida for a month, you said?
Yeah, we'll be
Just
there.
about a
So
month?
we're going to Gainesville, Tampa, week off in the Keys, which we have 1,000 Trails membership, so that's why we're able to do that. Definitely can't afford going there otherwise, and who knows, we may not be able to afford to do anything while we're there. And then
West Palm Beach.
And then we're out of Florida, but that will be 4 weeks in Florida.
Yeah, so. And this first week in Gainesville, my parents are going to be flying over there, and we got a really cheap Airbnb. It was great. It was like super inexpensive. I hope it's in a decent neighborhood. But
probably not. But yeah, it'll be fun because we're filming with the NHRA, which will be we'll be doing drag racing, and I'm really excited because we've been in conversation with them for a long time. Kind of planning this. We need to get a new camera. So we're like talking with them about like getting a sponsor for the series, and it's like a lot of stuff in the air. I was hoping to use like a tax return on a camera, and then anyway, stuff happens, and so we're still.
If you're watching this podcast, you'll notice the beginning part of this podcast was filmed with our camera, and this portion is filmed with our phone. So you tell me go to the beginning and tell me which quality is better. Should we use our phone at the NHRA? And that'll be so embarrassing because...
Well, whatever. There's a lot of limitations.
On.
No, I'm not. I'm saying
I'm not dressed as Brecky Breck with you, like...
I'm saying not even that. I'm saying there's so many limitations for the type of content we use when I don't have like lens support and functionality of like a full camera.
Yeah.
So, we would be able to do a video, but
I know it's just gonna look like
we're trying to up our quality and up our production value. So
just really struggling along for that.
But who knows? Maybe we're not supposed to. So maybe we're supposed to just iPhone it up, keep it cheap. Anyway, cool. Anything else?
No, this is good. Cool. Yeah, we're just catching up, and
it's like working out after you haven't worked out in a while,
Yeah, you gotta practice.
It's like, how do you get on podcast again? So, anyway, everyone else in the RV park definitely just heard our whole podcast because it's so quiet out here. So
yeah, it's okay.
Anyway,
we're in the swamps of Mississippi.
The
kids are like, "Are there alligators out here?" We're like, honestly, we don't know anything. We don't know anything about this area. I doubt it, just because I feel like that wouldn't be okay to like have some alligators crawling around.
That would not be okay. That would not be okay. Just like the bears in Yellowstone. That is not okay.
They put fencing up around those campgrounds, though. Like, imagine alligators literally, like, come on, no.
You coming and capturing Frankie on the side of our thing? Yeah.
No, it would just not be okay.
Okay.
All right.